My name's Ken Countess. I'm here with Paul Bosley. You'll learn a little bit more about both of us in a few minutes. We've called this Protecting Your Business. This is actually the third webinar that I'm doing in the last week. And the idea behind this is to provide some education and some help for all of us. We're expecting this to be a good conversation that Paul and I will be leading. It's no secret that the pandemic, coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, it's having a very serious impact on people around the world. And in the United States, we're really just, I hate to say it, but we're really just getting started with this thing, even though it seems like maybe we've been living it for quite a long time. In the last 2 weeks, it's really consumed us. And as business owners, all of us are business owners. I imagine most everybody on this call is and on the webinar. And by the way, we are streaming on Facebook too. You'd go to facebook.com/The Countess Group and we're live there. We do plan to provide the slides that you're going to see. We do plan to have the video recording of this event available both on the Business Finance Depot website, on the Countess Group website. We'll post it everywhere we can. We want this to be a highly educational and helpful event that Paul and I have put together with the hopes that we can help businesses like yours and ours do more than just hang on and survive, but actually we have opportunities to grow our businesses, hard as that may seem, during this event. So as I mentioned briefly, this is number 3 in a series of online events that are designed to help businesses deal with the current environment and bring all of us together as a business community. My name is Ken Countess. I'm Managing Director of the Countess Group. And with me is Paul Bosley. Paul, want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar.
Yeah, so Paul and I will tell you a little bit more about ourselves and our credentials in just a few minutes. I want to be sure that everybody is able to see what we have going on here. If you can see the presentation, right now I'm on the slide that shows Paul and me. Would you go ahead and raise your hand? Use the control panel at the bottom of the screen and let me know that you can see the presentation by raising your hand. I'm looking at the attendee thing to see who's got their hands up. There we go. Most everybody does. That's awesome. Thank you. You know, this is a really important event, and we're thrilled that you're here. Once again, this is Protecting Your Business, and it's part 3 in a series to help us all deal with the current environment and bring the business community together. Now, Paul and I have our own companies. Mine's the Countess Group. Paul's is Business Finance Depot. I actually wear 2 hats. I'm the marketing director for Business Finance Depot. And so I salute Paul every time I see him. And, you know, we've been working together for quite some time. Here's what we're going to talk about over the next hour. We're going to talk about where we are today. You know, this is such a fluid environment. If you turn on the TV, turn on the radio, browse through the web, you can't help but see things about coronavirus. So we're going to talk a little bit about what happened today, but more we're going to focus on ways to survive the downturn in business. We'll talk about funding options. We'll talk about marketing. What do you do now? Because so many people are just kind of frozen in place, not sure what to do, so they're not doing anything. That's a big mistake, obviously. And we'll talk about available resources and what you can do right now. All along the way, we'd love for you to participate, ask questions. I'll be looking at the question box, the chat box. We want to be sure that you get the most out of this that you can. And if we can't answer your questions all the way through, then, you know, for sure, you will be getting an email within the next day or 2 with a copy of the slides. We'll point you to some other resources on our various websites. We want you to get the most that you can out of this. We want to know what your concerns are. What's going on in your mind right now? What's going on with your business? What's your business doing? How is it doing? And what ideas do you have that can help others? We have right now over 70 people on this call. And so I want to be sure that we have, to the extent we can, a good dialogue. And if that's me relaying stuff over, that's totally cool. All right. So where's the Q&A box? It's down at the bottom of the screen. The arrow is pointing to the Q&A box. If you're on a desktop, it's down at the bottom. If you're on a smartphone, it's down at the bottom too. If you don't see it, move your mouse to the bottom of the screen, and that will reveal a black toolbar, and you'll be able to enter your questions and raise your hand and do all those kinds of things. I'm going to lower everybody's hands right now. There we go. All right, so our goal on today's session is to facilitate the sharing of knowledge and support during this super uncertain time. Bottom line is we want to be helpful to you. We're encouraging you to take notes and ask questions. I've got to thank you, a special thank you to those of you who took time to promote this event. We have a lot of people in various organizations around the country that have promoted this event so that more people could benefit from the information. There are people like those at SCORE. Paul and I know someone named Lois Perry who has been very generous with her time and effort promoting this event and providing resources. And also, we want to say thank you to those of you who will continue to stay engaged with us after this event. Also, a very special thank you to those of you who offered comments during registration. Quite a few of you were giving us some idea of what's going on in your business now. So here's where we are today. In just a few words, this continues to be a very fluid situation. This is a screenshot that was taken off of YouTube earlier today. This was YouTube Live. This was NBC News, and you see some pretty familiar faces that were talking about what's going on, what was going on a couple of hours ago with the coronavirus task force. And just scanning down YouTube, you know, there's stuff from every conceivable media outlet. The main message as of today, Friday the 20th, is that shelter in place is becoming more common. So for those of us who don't have a brick and mortar location, we've been kind of working from home for a while now. But for those who do have brick and mortar locations, we're not able to have our places open. By and large, the impact on business really is just starting, as hard as that is to believe. So in the state of Florida today, restaurants were ordered to close. Now they can only do delivery and takeout. They cannot have on-premise seating. You may have heard earlier this week that Starbucks cleaned out all the tables and chairs at their locations. You could only do mobile or pickup. The good news is that the governments and industry are stepping up their efforts. I mean, every conceivable thing is being done now to try to help us all survive during this catastrophic event. I was on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce website earlier today. They have a business preparedness checklist. I'd encourage you to check it out. If you haven't been on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce website, go ahead and do that. And here's something else. I mentioned industry is stepping up. Earlier this week, Facebook announced a $100 million program for small businesses that are impacted by coronavirus. That's an amazing thing, an awesome thing they did. If you read through it, they're going to help, they believe, 30,000 businesses around the world with this $100 million package. 100 million doesn't go very far with 30,000 businesses trying to tap it. So that's one of the reasons that we want to spend a lot of time talking about funding for businesses, and that's why Paul has been so generous with his time. He's going to walk you through the various options that can make funding more available more readily. So let's talk about that. The fitness clubs and restaurants and salons and physical therapists and personal trainers, those are just some of the businesses that have been impacted the most dramatically in a very short amount of time. We're all suffering. They are getting hit the hardest. So, what can we do about all of this today? We're going to talk about ways to survive the downturn. And so, your facilitators today are me. My name's Ken Countess. Many of you know who I am. You've attended my webinars and workshops and trade show talks that I've given. I've been marketing and doing communication stuff for over 40 years. And what I specialize in, what I teach businesses to do, is targeted marketing, lead generation, today using a lot of email and social media, brand awareness, marketing automation, so that you don't have to stand in front of a computer all day. You can use software systems to help get your message out. Corporate communications and PR. I've worked for some pretty big companies and put together some very effective crisis communication campaigns. I threw that in because we're in a crisis. I've worked on environmental issues, disaster relief, workplace, credit card fraud, drug testing, and more. And these are three of the super big companies that I've worked for over the last 40 years. I'm managing director of a company called the Countess Group. We're in our 20th year. We represent quite a few big companies, and we can help you whatever it is you need to market your business. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't reached out to us before, you'll have our contact information at the end of this event. Reach out to me. Let me turn it over now to Paul Bosley and let him tell you all about his experience and how he can help.
Thanks, Ken. As Ken mentioned, he's our marketing director for our company. The company started many years ago. The company name is healthclubexperts.com. I'm the founder of the business. I started in the health club industry right out of college 21 years ago and worked my way up to an ownership level. And at some point, I decided, roughly 15 years ago, I didn't want to be involved with running clubs anymore. So I sold my clubs. What we did is we started working in the franchise industry because I was brought into that industry because of SCORE, actually. As Ken mentioned, I'm a SCORE counselor. I've been a SCORE counselor for almost 10 years now. And as a SCORE counselor, we're supported by the SBA. And as an SBA entity, they of course deal with a lot of disaster loans that we're going to talk about later today, the 7A loans. There's different types of loans they have. So I became very aware of all the different SBA loan programs we have. And when I left the health club business and operations, I started to work with equipment leasing because most of the equipment in the fitness industry is leased. So we found ourselves kind of in an unusual position where we understand leasing and we understand SBA loans. And there's very few leasing companies that understand SBA loans, and there's very few SBA lenders that understand leasing. And they're both very active and very viable ways of financing your business. We got into the franchise industry roughly 5 years ago. We now are the funding source for some of the biggest franchises in the industry. You can see some of them listed. The first one actually is a United Franchise Group, which is a number of brands that they operate. One of them is Experamac, which is listed. They have Signorama, which is the biggest sign-making franchise. And then you can see some of these franchises are fitness, CKO Kickboxing, Hotworks, Curves, iCryo. They're all different franchise brands in the fitness industry, which we're very active in. But we also picked up Yogi Bear's Jellystone Parks, which we've been handling the financing for that brand, which is a 50-year-old franchise for quite a few years. And then last year we picked up the Massage Envy brand. So we're active in a number of different trade shows as a speaker and as a person that goes out and does writing. So we see Franchise Expo West is a series of franchise shows. Franchising Today is just a publication. Club Industry Show is a trade show that's been going on for years. And Be the Boss is a publication that we write for. So we write and we speak at quite a few of the different shows.
Thanks, Paul. So once again, for those of you who may have missed it or you just joined us, I see we still have people that are coming on into the room. Check out the Q&A box. It's down at the bottom of the screen, no matter what kind of device you're looking at. I see a few things that have come in. We'll address those questions and in a few minutes. I'm just checking to see if there's anything that's come in that we need to address right away. Okay, so the first piece of this is that we want to talk a little bit about marketing. Many people struggle, I mean, really do struggle with marketing. It just doesn't come naturally to them. And the struggle is that they're afraid they just won't get it right. And so they do nothing. Or maybe they do next to nothing. You know, if you're someone, and let's say, for instance, you own a gym or you're a personal trainer or you have a restaurant, maybe you love being in the chef, right, in the back of the house. You don't want to deal with marketing. You just like to open up the door and hope people show up. Well, in this environment, things are very different. If you're a personal trainer, you can't train people at the gym anymore in many states, right? That's changing. So people, you know, have sort of neglected this idea of marketing their business. But today, given the change in circumstance, you need to up your game. So if you weren't doing anything before, you're starting from zero, there's nowhere to go but up. But if you have been marketing and you just sort of took it as a necessary evil, things have to be you've got to do them differently. What you need to do is you need to be marketing to today, let people know that you're still out there, right? In the past, meaning a week ago, you could do some minimal marketing and people sort of knew you were there. I had a conversation earlier today with one of the VPs at the Chamber of Commerce that I'm a member of. By the way, both Paul and I live in the Orlando, Florida area. And I was on the phone with a marketing VP at the Chamber earlier today, actually the membership, one of the VPs. And the Chamber of Commerce here has 200 events a year. And that's where you kind of get to know everybody. That chamber has 800 members, 800 businesses that are members. And as you can imagine, every event that expected to attract more than 10 people is done for the foreseeable future. So now we have 800 businesses that we used to all go see each other, right, pretty much regularly. And now who knows that you're still out there? So you've got to start marketing your business at a higher level than you did before, whatever that level was. Marketing is all about generating leads in order to fill a funnel. So I'll give you some strategies on exactly what to do in a few minutes. But once you get those leads, you've got to cultivate a relationship with those leads. And those leads get cold very, very quickly. And particularly now, because we're all distracted, we've got other things to worry about beyond our business. Not that we weren't concerned about our families and friends before, of course we were. But now we're spending much more time focused on ensuring that everybody in our tribe is safe and is cared for. And so when we get leads in, we've got to be sure that we're nurturing those leads because they do go cold quickly. Lead nurturing is super important for lots of reasons. And the companies that excel at lead nurturing generate more sales-ready leads at a lower cost. So what do you do? What do you do with those leads? What do you do if your business is closed right now? Well, offer some additional value. I'll give you an example of that in a moment or two. What you want to do now, particularly if your location is not open, you've got the closed sign there, is reach out to them, provide some messaging to them, let them know you're there, provide them with valuable information that they can, at the very least, it keeps your brand top of mind for them. Maybe you're offering services, maybe delivery before cost, maybe you charge $25 to deliver a meal. Maybe you can offer some sort of additional service at no charge. throw in a free drink if you're a restaurant. But be sure that you stay on top of the messaging that people are doing. People are hungry for safety and security. If they're emailing you or texting you or asking you stuff on social media, answer it right away. And ask for referrals. Did you know that 89% of customers say that they would actually refer someone, but only 10% of customers actually asked for a referral? So go into your database, see who can provide a referral to you or for you, and take advantage of that. Here's the bottom line. In a world of today, the world we're living in right now, it's really hard to go find new customers. Everybody's taking shelter. This is data that's been around for quite a long time, and I thought it was relevant to share with you right now. It's that gaining a new customer can be 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. Now think about that right now today. Imagine trying to go out and find all these brand new customers. That's super expensive. If you've been in business for any length of time, connect with your existing customers. Let them know you're there. Let them know you care. Offer them some sort of a service. Ask them what they need from you. You know what? They'll tell you. A 5% increase in retention increases profits by nearly 95%, meaning it nearly doubles your profit by just retaining 5% of your customers. So here's my message to you. Target your marketing. Go after the people that are your existing clients and customers. Be someone who stands out. Be a little bit different than your competitors, especially now. I mean, we've all got competitors. We're all trying to figure things out. Try to identify what sets you apart. What you can do right now is be where your clients and your prospects are. And you know where they are? They're checking their phones. You know what the #1 cell phone app is? Email. We are all checking our email all day, every day. In fact, 99% of us check email every day. So you may use social media, your website may be great, but no matter what, your clients and prospects, customers, if you're nonprofit donors, they're checking their email. This continues to be the most valuable marketing tool out there with a 42-to-1 ROI. And you can get a 60-day free trial of Constant Contact. I mentioned earlier, that's who I'm partnered with. I've been associated with them for over 10 years. I've been one of their top trainers. Take a picture of this slide. We'll come back to it later if you can't get to it right away, or write down that URL. It's bit.ly/completely free trial. Before I turn it over to Paul, I want to come back to this notion of if you're a fitness club or a restaurant or a salon or therapist, personal trainer, actually all of us, we need to think differently. And I mentioned this is the third in a series of webinars that we've done. The next one, by the way, is this coming Monday. And one of the people who attended the webinar that I did on Monday night was a woman named Deirdre Finn. Deirdre has an office in New York City, and she lives in one of the other boroughs, not in Manhattan. But Deirdre called me the other day and she said, "What do I do? I'm a physical therapist. I can't go to my office now. I'm not allowed in the building. So what do I do?" So I said, well, let's think about the way that you serve customers now. And as a physical therapist, of course, most of the time it's, things like massage and manipulation and things of that nature. But if you're not able to be face-to-face with someone, what do you do? So we talked about a few strategies. And one of the things, this popped up in my inbox just about an hour ago today. What Deirdre did was she put out an email that said, and I'll read it to you, it's on another screen. "Dear patients, friends, and colleagues, I hope you are all well in body and spirit. In response to the current situation, I will not be seeing patients at my office at this time, but I'm available for consults via phone and email free of charge and hope that you will stay in touch. I'm offering a new service, an online ergonomic consultation, and it goes on from there. The point is that here is someone who, because the situation had changed so dramatically, she got very creative. And I applaud her. I think she did a marvelous job of coming up with a new solution. If you need some help brainstorming, you can give me a call. I'm happy to do a free 15-minute consultation with you. Point is, everybody should be thinking a little bit differently. Use digital marketing in whatever channels you're used to using, continue using them. Right now, this event is on Facebook Live. We use email and YouTube and all the rest. Start tapping into these, especially if you're now working from home and you haven't in the past had an opportunity to explore these channels. This is a great time to begin to do that. There's also automation available. What you see up on the screen now is something that represents, you might send an email out, a couple of days later, it automatically senses who opened your email and who didn't. And depending on what situation they're in, you can have it set up to do different things and allow you to do what you'd rather be doing. For something like that, I recommend something called Keep. It's Keap. And once again, you can get a free trial of this. Take a picture of the screen. We'll send you the slides so you don't have to worry about it if you're not able to do this right now. My message to you is, if you're not doing anything now, start somewhere. Start here by identifying your value proposition. Figure out what it is that you offer that others don't. It's a great place to start. And don't worry about being perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. So just get something done, because done is better than perfect. Take action. Okay? Next, let's talk about funding. And Paul, you got the stage.
All right. Thanks, Ken. The purpose of our part of the presentation is really to do two different things. The first part is to go over where we are today with the different programs that are being offered by the federal government and by the state. And it's important for you to understand right from the beginning that these are all programs that you have to initiate directly with the federal government and with the state. The SBA lenders, the packagers, the agents, the brokers, they have no place in this process at all. So the first part of this program is to talk about what initially President Trump announced, and there's a slide that is next that will talk about the press release that was given out. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, I mentioned earlier when I introduced myself, is a division of the federal government. And for those of you that don't understand what the SBA does, they back a percentage of the loans. So what happens when you're, for instance, a startup business and you're applying for a business loan, when the SBA or the federal government backs a percentage of the loan, it takes away some of the risk that the lenders have. So in the event of a default, the SBA gives a high percentage of the defaulted amount back to the lender, which is why for almost all businesses, in situations when you're a startup or in situations like this, when there's some type of a catastrophe, like for instance, a hurricane hits a certain area or some type of a natural disaster of some sort, then the SBA backs the loans and they have different programs where you work directly with them. So the only thing that was given out initially by the federal government was this press release. The press release was stated that they are going to come up with a program. So before we go too much further into this, I received today an email from the Coleman report that talks about the Senate right now is debating the different programs that they're going to release and that will be in place in the very near future. So the program that President Trump talked about and the program that is about to be initiated nationally, which is going to be specific to the coronavirus, is going to be initiated in the near future, but it is not initiated right now. What they're talking about is to have a program where there's 100% backing of the SBA, so that a lender that you would go to, it could be in any bank that you go to, or any SBA lender or non-SBA or non-bank SBA lender, would receive a 100% loan guarantee. So what they have to do is just underwrite it just like they would underwrite any loan, knowing that they have no exposure at all in the case of a default. They're also talking about loans that can go anywhere up to $2 million, or excuse me, $10 million. And the Express program, which is really kind of a quicker program, can go up to $1 million. This is in discussions right now in the Senate. So what exists now is very different than what's going to exist. So Ken, why don't you move to the next slide? So each state will be is implementing their own program. If you go to in this example to your state website, each state has their own program that's considered more like a bridge loan. And the programs that are up there go up to anywhere to $50,000, and they all have things like 1-year terms. Like the one in Florida is a 1-year term, no interest. And if you pay it off, you had an interest-free loan for a year. And if you don't pay it off in a year, you're going to have a 12% interest rate going forward. And it's for small businesses. But every state has their own program. And then the federal government, before we move on to some of the other options, has had for years a disaster relief program that exists, again, for hurricanes and things like that. That program right now is in place, the disaster relief program. In the email that I sent out, which some of you may have received already, that particular program is being initiated by every single SBA office that either exists regionally or the federal office. And that program is similar to the one that's existed for years for hurricanes or for tornadoes. And there is a link in a website that you can apply directly to. What Ken and I have decided to do is, since the information that's in this slide was available 2 days ago, we plan on doing a weekly newsletter and a weekly webinar, which is going to update people as we go forward with more information. Because last night late, I received the link of where to apply, how to apply, what to fill out, and all that stuff, which we're going to be sending out probably sometime early next week. So again, to summarize the free programs, you've got a very large program that is being debated right now in the Senate that's going to be released probably sometime next week. I'm almost positive it's going to get approved, because obviously the Congress and the senators realize the country is basically shut down and they have to do something. In the meantime, there's a disaster relief program that you can apply for, and there's information in our emails that we've sent out on where what links you can click on. And then in addition to that, there are free programs that every state that's initiated has. I'm familiar with 2. One is in Florida, one in Massachusetts, that's up to $50,000. So those are all programs that you can go to on your own directly. You don't need any intermediary, and you just act on those initially as much as you can. And then the rest of this presentation is about things that we can offer now that make sense. And the biggest difference between the programs that I'm about to go over and the programs that the SBA or the state offers are, for the most part, they're unsecured programs, and they're ways that you can just deal with the lender directly, and they would act as quickly as possible, where when you're dealing with the state or the federal government, no one really knows how well or how quickly they're going to be able to react. We hope that they react quickly, and that they're in a situation where they can roll their programs out quickly. But if not, here's some 5 options. The first option that we're going to call option A is one of the lenders for years, we've done hundreds of these, offers what's called an SBA Express working capital loan. And there's a brochure that is available on the presentation that you can download. And all you have to do is download it. And the brochure really explains the program and what it's all about. It's an express loan. It's capped at $150,000. You have a 10-year repayment term. It's fully amortized. There's no prepayment penalty. If you add the interest rates right now on these are about 6%. And if you add the fees that the bank and our company charge, it comes out to about a 6.67% interest rate. Again, fully amortized, no prepayment penalty. There's no restrictions against on the money. All you need is good personal credit to apply. And when people ask me, what does that mean? In this day and age, it basically is 700 or above. And in addition to that, your company should be profitable, at least up until the time when the virus hit. In my opinion, when I looked at this program and I compared it to, for instance, the state programs, it's really very comparable in many ways to the state programs in the sense it's unsecured. But unlike the state program, like for instance, in Florida, where you have a 12% interest rate after the first year, this has got an interest rate of 6%. And there's no prepayment. It goes out over 10 years. So I think in some situations, this loan is actually better than the state program because it's an unsecured loan. When you look at that compared to the federal programs are unsecured up to $25,000. Anything over $25,000 has to be fully secured by real estate that you own, where this up to $150,000 is unsecured. So there's some benefits to this over that in the sense that it's unsecured over $25,000. The interest rate on the federal programs, the disaster programs, are 3.5%. There's no fees. So obviously you're better off with a disaster program if you get that done. So it's just a matter of how you choose to move forward. But not everybody has perfect credit. I mean, realistically, a lot of people that are out there in business are challenged credit. They maybe capitalized their business with credit cards, things like that. So option B, which is just another way, is there's unsecured business loans and lines of credit. And we've been working with a company for give or take 1 year. I visited their offices. They specialize in getting business credit cards and business loans, unsecured again, for people with good personal credit. In this situation, I would define good personal credit as something like 675 or above. The people that we've had loans with, we had one fund this morning that they accessed about 10,000. The most I've seen anybody get is about 130,000. So it's a situation where you can basically within 30 days get unsecured credit for your business, whether it's a business credit card or whether it's a business loan. I don't think this is as good of an option as the SB Express loan, but at the same time, it is a pretty good option when you stop back and think about it, because most of the time when you get approved for unsecured credit, you're going to be looking at interest rates probably somewhere in the neighborhood right now, I'm going to say of around 10, give or take, because the interest rates have dropped considerably over the last couple of weeks. So this is just another option. It's quick. You can just click on the link and get pre-qualified. There's no hard pull on your credit, and we're just sending you directly to the company that does the work. So that's the second option. If you go to option 3, a lot of people don't realize, but there's ways that you can convert your business by to a C Corp by self-funding it using your IRA or your 401k. It's been going on for years. When I went to the franchise industry for the first time, it's throughout the franchise industry. It's really not well known in the fitness industry at all, which I've been in for 46 years. And it's really not well known either in the campground industry, which we've been already active in for the last couple of years. This is a way where you can just take your money that you have sitting around, and right now, unfortunately, losing a lot of money, and you can move it to self-fund your business. There's no fee involved from the standpoint of the federal government. When you do what's called the ROBS program, you take the money into income. You don't pay a penalty on it if you take it out early. The companies that do this all charge about $5,000. It's an upfront charge that they make, and then basically you're self-funding your own business, and they convert it to a C Corp. It's an option. It's something that you might consider, especially if you're looking at your 401k and your IRA and you're seeing it's going down, and you just want to access your retirement account without a penalty and without taking it into income, just to capitalize your business. So that's your third option. And this is just something where you control and you self-fund. Then there's for people that these last two are for people that don't have good credit or they don't have a retirement account. So in this situation, if you have a business and you don't have you have good cash flow, but you really don't have good credit and you're not going to qualify. You don't have a credit score over 675. You don't have a credit score over 700 for the express loan. You can just really get, there's different types of cash advances that are out there, which are really just money that goes directly into your business. It's very popular in the restaurant industry. It's something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's a way that you can just get some money quickly, and then later on you can, maybe just pay it off when you get some type of a disaster loan or something like that. But it's pretty quick. It just requires good cash flow. What they normally do, companies like this, is they normally will give you anywhere up to what you normally put in the bank in 1 month. So if your monthly average income is $30,000, they'll normally give you $30,000. It just goes directly into your account. They take the money out usually either daily or weekly. The way I explain this to people is this is the last resort. And it's not something you do more than once. It's just if you need money and you don't have time for a disaster loan, you don't have time for an SBA Express loan, you don't have time to wait for anything else, and you need money quick, this is the way you do it. If it's quick, but you do it once and you only do it once, and that's it. But it is a way of getting money, and all you have to do is click on the link if you need the money, and then you can just pay it off with an early payment, if you get a disaster loan later on. And then finally, the last way to do it, and again, this is for people that, again, don't have good credit. They necessarily might not even have good cash flow, but you own equipment, especially if it's titled equipment like vehicles, anything at all that might be titled, or even if it's just regular fitness equipment. You can do what's called the sale leaseback, and that's where you're basically selling the equipment back to the company and you're getting the cash out from the equipment, and then you're going to lease it, and at the end of the lease, you're going to own the equipment. It's very common, especially with situations like this where you paid cash for the equipment. It has no liens on it. It's just sitting there right now. It's not doing the thing. It's just sitting there because nobody can go into your place. It could be restaurant equipment. It could be any type of equipment at all. The best type of equipment are obviously titled vehicles. In the campground industry, ironically enough, the cabins that you sleep in at campgrounds, they're titled vehicles because they're delivered on the back of trucks. So any type of titled vehicle, any type of equipment that can be removed can be leased. So if you have that, it's an asset, then you can do that. So if you want, you can call any of us for more details on any of these different options. There's 4 of us that do the work. We've got Marisol Cruz as our COO. She works with a lot of our clients. You got Gary Raffensberger, our Director of Operations. Stephen Indichters, our Business Development Director, and myself. My name is Paul Bosley. The 4 of us are going to do what we can in any way, shape, or form to help you to access capital. And as I said at the beginning, whatever we can do to update the information as it's passed by the Senate. We'll be having a newsletter that goes out next week, and we'll also be having another webinar. So this continues to be a real fluid situation. If you want to follow our emails, like Ken says, I think the best thing that we ever did for marketing, besides hire Ken Countess, is to join Constant Contact. We have 15,000 people in our database. We send out monthly emails. We're going to start doing them weekly just for a period of time. If you want to get on our mailing list, you can just click on this list and you're going to get an updated email next week. And it's going to have all the information on how to apply, where to go, and all that stuff for the free loans. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ken, and hopefully we're going to wrap up this presentation so that you can get back to whatever you're doing.
Okay, so thanks, Paul. That was really awesome. Every time I sit in on a session with you, I learn something, learn a lot. Once again, if you joined us late, if you would like to ask questions or drop comments in, we've got quite a few that are coming in. Move your mouse down to the bottom of the screen. That's where you'll find a panel where you can put questions in. You can put something in the chat box, and you can raise your hand. Our message for all of you, and thank you, because just about everybody has stayed all the way through, is take action and let us help you out. Here are some of the other resources that we've referred to during the course of this session. This is the SBA website. This was on their page about coronavirus. They have a wealth of resources there. You can find local assistance for the SBA. What you're looking at here is on their main page, the section that says Business Guide, there's a drop-down menu there. And you can see the 4 columns. There are lots of resources. We'd encourage you to take advantage of that. In the marketing section, there's material that will help you understand how to set up that competitive advantage for yourself. Put a marketing plan together. The SBA has a handout that they made available a few days ago. That's the URL for it. It's bit.ly/SBA handout, capitalization counts. SCORE, Paul mentioned he's been associated with SCORE for 10 years. I've been associated with them for several years. I'm not quite at the 10-year mark yet. But that's a great resource for all sorts of help that you might need with your business. They have individual counseling, which today is by phone and email, unfortunately. We're not able to go to their offices. But there are 11,000 people that have volunteered to be SCORE counselors. And these are people that have a great depth and breadth of experience in all aspects of helping businesses grow. There's the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. They too offer free counseling, and they have some special sites set up for business continuation services. And it's no cost professional business consulting. The CDC is another resource, and that's cdc.gov. And then if you're in the state of Florida, there's Florida disaster.biz. So look, the message here is we're going to get through this together. Some days are going to be better than others, and that's just the way it is. But we're here to help guide you. We've got a few minutes. We've actually got about 10 minutes for some Q&A. So if you would, go ahead, and if you have questions you'd like to ask, we'll give those, we'll answer them as best we can. Once again, that's where the Q&A buttons and chat buttons are on screen. Hey, these are uncertain times, but today's uncertain times don't have to be as uncertain as we might think. So take action and let us help you. You can call or email us. We're both available for you. We want to thank you for attending. You see my phone and email and Paul's phone and email. And I'll just, in a quick commercial, our next event sponsored by the Countess Group is Monday, March 23rd at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. And let me look at my cheat sheet. It's what small businesses want to know about accessing or asking questions about the kinds of things that are plaguing them right now. We have a national director from Legal Shield that will be joining us and spending some time educating us on the kinds of resources that are available. Paul mentioned that we plan to do weekly events. We need to schedule the next one. Obviously, this is late Friday afternoon, so watch your mailbox for not only the resources from this webinar, but also we hope to announce when the next of these events will be. You know, we're all in this together. We really do want to help. So let me go look at the Q&A stuff. Thank you to those who have participated. Let me go to the chat area first. And let's see, so we had Roy in Newport. I won't go down there. It looks like we have people from all around the country. Nicole asks, so far the SBA website doesn't list my state as one eligible for SBA disaster loans. Do we think that will change?
I believe, based upon what I've heard from a number of different SBA lenders that I deal with, that pretty much every state's going to declare itself as a disaster. So my advice would be to check back, because that will make you eligible for the SBA disaster relief loan, which is available, which we talked about today. And there's a link, I think, in the email that shows where you can apply. And chances are the state will also have some type of a of a program that they announce.
Great, thank you. Danielle asks, can we receive the recording? Yes. This is not only being recorded as the live webinar, it's also on Facebook Live right now. It's facebook.com/the Countess group, and the replay will be available on Facebook Live there. Our plan is to take this live event that we're doing right now. I will edit it, take out some of the extraneous things that there might have been. I don't know of any right offhand. But we plan to produce this and make it available very quickly. So you'll be able to, when you receive the email, and those of you who have been on my list or Paul's list, you'll get not only the email that summarizes this event, you'll have a link to be able to download the slides. You'll also have a link to be able to watch a replay of the video at your own convenience. Let's see, we have quite a few people in fitness studios. We have Lenny from West Sacramento, California. He asks, if this goes on any longer than 2 months, when do we start considering actually closing our doors? You know, there's really no telling. I think every business owner has a decision that they would need to make. Eric says, who's the best contact at Business Finance Depot? I have 3 cryo locations with a 4th about a week away from completing construction and getting a CO.
I think that at this point, I would recommend that you contact me so I can understand it. My contact information is right there on the screen. And Ken, let me circle back to that prior question about the person thinking about closing their doors. One of the things that's being talked about right now in the Senate is the program which would be able to give you money to keep your doors open, because the idea of the disaster relief loan is to help people with fixed assets and some money that they owe, and to keep the doors open in a sense. But this other one is to help compensate people. The new one that they're talking about is to compensate people for lost sales. So I think it's real important that for those of you that are listening and following us, that you stay tuned for what's going to come out next week, because I think the next one that comes out is going to be able to address people that are really concerned about closing their doors.
Great, thank you. Gosh, I hope I don't mess up pronunciation of this name. It looks like it's Sway Fenlow, and the question is, what's a good way to reach out to our own community right now? Direct flyers, local paper, social media. My community has many seniors. That's really a great question that applies to many businesses, regardless of the demographic of your audience. Certainly, in an environment with many seniors, they're much more accustomed to and more comfortable with print media. So having flyers distributed, particularly if those seniors are in assisted living facilities or 55 and up communities, having direct mail pieces or having flyers that you're able to distribute will be very helpful. The thing about social media is it's rare to find somebody these days that isn't on social media in some way. And the question really revolves around what's the right social media for your business. So if your demographic is 55 and up, interestingly, Facebook is a good place to be, because the 55 and up crowd is using it to check on their sons and daughters and their kids and grandkids. So they're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. Instagram and Facebook, they're both owned by the same company. Instagram is where the millennials tend to hang out, and some of the Gen Z people are there too. Gen Z is age 25 and under. If you need help understanding how to approach those different audiences, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is up there. It's both a science and an art. Social media, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, you could have discounted that as an effective way to meet your demographic, to meet your audience. But it's a very smart thing to use. And as I mentioned earlier, I would very strongly encourage that you use email marketing, because no matter what age bracket, everybody's checking their email. Okay, let's see. Thank you for those questions, by the way. Sumit South asks, what were the two sources again for disaster relief? Sumit got logged out briefly.
Well, right now, the two sources are the federal government has a disaster relief program where if your state has announced that it's a disaster area, which I just answered a question for someone else in Texas that says their county wasn't mentioned. So if you're located in a disaster area, then you're eligible to apply for the federal disaster relief program. The second program that exists right now is a state-by-state program, and we just use the example of the one in Florida, which is a bridge loan. I'm aware of one that's in Massachusetts, and that's something that you're going to have to check with your state. And the one that's being discussed in the Senate right now has not been approved yet. It's being voted on as we speak, and maybe it might have been approved already, but it's going to be a program that would apply nationally, and it'll be an SBA program.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Greg asks, should you apply for all or just one of the programs?
You can apply to both. You're not going to be in a position where if you apply to the state program, I'm not sure what they're going to be looking for collateral. My guess is they're going to want to have a lien on the business, is what my guess is. With the federal program, if it's over $25,000, it's going to be collateralized not only by your business assets, but also by your personal assets. So the only problem you run into is if you get approved by both of them, one of them is not going to want to be in second position behind the other. So if you apply to both and you get approved by both, then you're going to have to pick and choose which one is a better deal and which one you want. And then you just act on that one and you let the other one go. But the good news, if you apply to both of them and one says no and one says yes, obviously that makes the decision real easy.
Great. Britt says, we run a ballroom dance studio. Any creative ideas on how to monetize online options for a service industry like ours? Britt, yeah, there are some good ways that you can monetize it. You can run a membership site online. You can create a private Facebook group. You can create a private YouTube channel. There are lots of ways that you could do that. You could charge a membership fee. You could provide dance lessons. My wife and I, interestingly, about a year ago, were taking dance lessons from a very well-known company. And when we were not in the studio, we were actually watching videos online, which turned out to be very helpful. If you want to talk more about that, reach out to me. We can give you some more ideas. Roy says, I'm a small business owner myself as a trainer and main worker bee and one admin assistant part-time. I have a couple of months reserve and I'm working on improving marketing, but what do I do about lost sales? And he adds here that Paul had just answered the question. So thank you for that. Claudia asks, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that the new program that's being discussed is going to talk about lost sales. That's really what that program is all about.
Good. Claudia says, is there a replay from Monday night's webinar? Claudia, yes, you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Countess group. And you can also find it on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/the-Countess group. But if you have a hard time finding it, just shoot me an email and I'll send you a link so you'll be able to access it. Thanks for that question. One more just came in. Mike says in Texas, the governor's office is currently working with the SBA on adding the state of Texas to the SBA disaster relief program. Once they do that step, then the governor receives 5 SBA worksheets from a specific county, and then that county will be added to the list. So, you know, this is an example of, this is such a fluid situation, and this is why we're doing this live, not as a recorded event, because things have changed even since the time we put these slides together. about 2 hours ago that there are some new developments. Claudia, you're welcome, and happy to help. And Roy, you're welcome as well. So we're at the top of the hour. I'm looking and I don't see anything new that's come into the question box and the chat box. So Paul, do you have anything else before we close down?
No, just that the plan is to update a newsletter. So if you want to get the future newsletters, if you're not listed, there was a slide that we offered to register for those. And the plan is next week, at least my plan, is to get into detail about how do you apply. And it's going to be a step-by-step process of how to apply, where to go, and then to go into the new program.
And I just put the slide back up to, if you'd like to join the Business Finance Depot mailing list. I would recommend that if you're not already on it, go ahead and join that list. You can always unsubscribe if you find it's not exactly what you were looking for or if the need has expired. So with that, I want to thank you all for attending this event. And I hope that you'll join us for the next event that we have. And again, watch your mailbox. Doug is asking here, are the previous 2 sessions, are they on the YouTube channel too? Doug, I know the first one is. The second one I may or may not have put up there, but it will certainly be up there by tomorrow, Saturday morning. So thank you all very much for attending. We wish you a safe and healthy weekend and certainly going forward as well. Let's all work together. We can get through it, and we're here to help you do that. Bye for now.